So, I wonder if you guys can help me out. I want to find out which ones of you guys, what some people call useless idiots. I want to find out. I don't believe that, by the way. I don't believe any of us are idiots. I believe we're all light beings and capable of many things. But anyway, some people say that the masses are useful idiots. And just to see if that's true, I want to find out which of you makes stuff. Because to be fair, people, I look around the world, I look around my home, and I see 1,000 things that have been made by people and machines. And I'm wondering, who the fuck does that? Who the fuck makes these? Who the fuck made that? Sticking all these small pieces of wood together in such a beautiful machined way and polished it all and then shipped it and put it in a supermarket and sold it for £10. My daughter bought me this as a moving in present. £10 for that wonderful work of art. Come with me here, people. Look, I'm confused. Who do you know makes these? I've never met anybody that says they make fucking cabinet door handles for a living. I've never met anybody that says they put this laminate on these wooden panels. Oh, what do you do? My name's Aaron. What's your name? Oh, my name's Timothy. Oh, what do you do, Timothy, for a living? I make these door handles to go on kitchen doors. Really? Sounds very interesting and stimulating. Look, who makes these? Who makes them tops? Who makes these switches? Who makes this glass bowl? Who made this tub? Who made this nice speckly work surface? Who made these tea towels? I can take you around the whole house and I can go, who the fuck made this shit? And I don't know anybody that makes this shit. And then you could say, yeah, it's all made in China, in the sweatshops, and in Pakistan and India. Lots of it is. Lots of it is. But anyway, I went online last night, and because I wanted to know who makes these jars and bottles and things like that. You see, here I've got one of these old ones. And I like things like that. And when I was younger, I used to collect bottles, and I was always looking for green bottles or blue bottles. Wow, because in the old days you used to have blue bottles. And on shipwrecks, you know, like 1500s, 1600s, they found blue bottles. And I'm like, I'll have some of that. I'll go fucking diving for them. I'll risk life and limb to get me under one of those fucking blue bottles with crustaceans all over it. Fuck yeah, probably Long John Silver drank his whiskey out of it. Yes. So, and then I'm like, well, okay, I used to do this, by the way, I used to do it a lot. How tin cans are made, how aluminium bowls are made, how nuts and bolts and screws. I used to spend hours and hours and hours looking at how shit's made. And in the old days, you know, you'd have individuals with lathes, and they'd be like, you know, turning screws and fashioning nuts and bolts, and they'd have these dies which they are threading the bolts on, and, you know, real hands-on engineering. and I found it really, really fascinating because I've always been a hands-on making sort of a bloke, and so looked at all that stuff. And when you look, for instance, who first started to make these mason jars? You know, a jar like this, only with an old lid on it, and the old lids used to be made out of zinc, and it was soft. Some of you will remember. And so when you twisted it onto the glass thread, you know, it would almost mould onto it. And to keep the seal, you used to have a bit of rubber or latex in there to do the sealing, because we couldn't preserve food because we never invented freezers at that time. And so everybody used to boil stuff down and put it in mason jars, and wow, it was wonderful. And these people, there's 5 brothers apparently called Ball, and their mother told them, go out and conquer the world, but stay together. And they did. They stayed together, and they created this, they created a few companies, but the one that really made it big for them and made them trillionaires was making mason jars. And so one was the salesperson, one was the engineer, one was the recruitment department, and the other one was something to do with the fucking, I don't know, fucking sales and banking. They all had a different part, right? 5 brothers stayed together forever, and you know, all became very, very rich. And then what they did is they built hospitals in their hometown, and universities and all that sort of stuff. And so, you know me, I'm always, hey you, what the fuck? Why are you so stupid? You know, this, that and the other. But of course, you know, I'm just jousting with you, having a go at you, to just prompt me to stop being so lazy. Some of you, stop being so lazy. And if you're always watching my videos, and like Alex O'Connor, in his very congenial way, says at the end of his videos, if you like this video, and you must have liked it at least a little bit to see this message now, well, if you wouldn't mind putting a thumb up and subscribing, and maybe popping over to our Patreon and supporting the channel, then that would be very much appreciated. You see, people, they'll do that because it's their business. It's not my business, you see. And so I kind of like, well, I don't have to be like that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to fall into the norm of everybody. Oh, hi guys, if you don't mind smashing the like and, you know, doing the thumbs up, and you know, I do it a different way, don't I? I do it my way. I go, hey, fuckers, about time you did some of that, fucker. Some of that. Yeah, that's my style, people. Hang on, I've got to open this window. So, making stuff. I'm like, look, all this stuff around here. We, in Britain, we don't make a lot of stuff these days, to be fair. We've farmed it all out, of course, to, you know, third world countries. And they're working in terrible conditions for a couple of dollars a day. You know, always used to be they're working on $1 a day, $1 a day, $1 a day. But I think, you know, it must have gone up to $2 a day at least now. In Malaysia and Indonesia, Pakistan, India, China, and all these sorts of places. So they are making all this stuff, and by magic it just appears on our supermarket shelves, you know, on the internet now, and all you need to do, oh, I like that, oh, I like this. How many of us have any concern whatsoever who produced these things, where they came from, and how they're produced? I think we all should know, we really should know what people are being coerced and forced into doing to make our lives so wonderful and comfortable, which is killing us in lots of respects, because it's making us fat, lazy, complacent, unappreciative, and all different sorts of things. And so what's going to happen, what is happening, people, is that the world is going to become inverted, because these people that have been doing all this labour for many, many years to make kings out of all these men, women, boys and girls living in Western countries, we're all living like fucking kings. Can you imagine in the 1500s when kings have the best of the best? Well, even the poorest person, you know, has better than what they've got. They've got flushing toilets, they've got hot water, they've got electricity, they've got central heating. They've got comfy beds, they've got warm clothing, they've got, you know, decent shoes. We've got a whole bunch of stuff going down people. Not to mention penicillin and all that different sorts of stuff. We don't know we're born, and yet there's becoming an inversion, there's becoming a decadence. And, you know, this is going to be the decline of the West. It has to be, because it's human nature that we're going to take everything for granted. When we've got copious amounts of stuff, and whenever I want anything, I just go on the computer and go bop, bop, bop. I don't have to spend no money, see no money. I don't have to do anything. And it just comes. And so, you know, of course I have the time then to think, well, who does all this stuff? Because it kind of makes me feel like a bit special. Forgive me, but I do get to thinking that I must be God. I must be God. If I haven't worked in 14 years and I've got everything that I need, well, doesn't that make me at least a little bit of a God? Doesn't that make me a demigod? I don't do anything. I don't make any of this shit. I don't produce anything. I don't provide for anybody. I just sit on my throne and at the fingers like that. I get to thinking, people. I get to thinking. And you people, you know, sitting in the tube, on the train, on a bus, and walking in the streets with your umbrella to the office and all this stuff. I've just stepped outside of that. I just decided 14 years ago, I'm not doing it anymore. I used to work very, very hard with my own businesses, of course, producing, developing property. I was in the motor trade for many years as a younger person. Then I was in the building, in landscape gardening. Then I owned a furniture removals and haulage business for 10 years. I've done a lot of stuff, people. Hang on. Right. So, making stuff. I'm going to get back to that. But what I'm going to say now is I am making a burnt offering to Yahweh. You know, the demiurge, the devil from the Old Testament. All you Christians out there, you'll be familiar with Yahweh. He's a demiurge. He's a dog-headed God. He's evil through and through. And he likes to kill, murder, punish, berate, chastise, and make people suffer, and bow and beg to him, and all this sort of stuff. Come on, don't fuck with me, people. I've read that stupid fucking Old Testament, and I've listened to 1,000 scholars that tell it the way it fucking is. And you dumbass fucking Christians, you're just in a state of denial. Oh, he's the wonderful, beautiful, loving God. Go fuck yourselves. Go fuck yourselves. It riles me. These fucking idiots. Anyway, Jehovah likes burnt offerings. He likes everybody to slit the throats of animals and fucking burn the blood on a fire because God finds it most pleasing. What sort of cunt finds that most pleasing? Except an evil motherfucker. Yeah. Now, I eat dead bodies. And I eat dead bodies because there's something within me that needs to eat dead bodies. There really is something. I've tried vegetarian for 6 months, just couldn't deal with it. I wasn't satisfied any single day after any of my meals. The human body, some of us, we need that satiation of the animal flesh and fat. Yahweh, he likes all sorts of animals to have their throats slit and to have burnt offering because he finds the smell of it quite pleasant, which is curious. I don't like the fucking smell of it really. It causes havoc with my fucking smoke alarms, and you'll hear it in a minute. But Jehovah, he loves that shit. Yahweh, Jehovah, same fucking thing. And so I'm having burnt offerings, but I'm telling you now, I could never slaughter any of these animals. I could never kill them. I'm too compassionate, I'm too loving. I love, you know, all animals and everything, but the thing is about cows, you know, I've tried to love them more than I do, but they really are low consciousness. Sheep, low consciousness. Chickens, even lower. Pigs, they're intelligent as dogs apparently. So it's kind of unfortunate that they're intelligent and we treat them like they're not. So maybe one day the human race will evolve from that. But I couldn't kill any of these animals. I most certainly couldn't butcher them up and do all that. And if I was in the wild, then of course ultimately to stop me starving I'd have to trap animals, and I would have to do that, and I suppose in time I'd get used to it. But all my life I've loved animals, I've owned animals and I've helped animals, and so I don't like the fact that they are slaughtered. But I looked at it like this: if it wasn't for the fact that we consume them, there'd be no reason for them to exist. Because a cow and a sheep in the wild, well, as I said in the previous video, in the wild in Europe, well, there is no wild. There's no fucking wild in Europe anymore. In America you still find a few places wild due to the expanse of it, and so you've got your wildebeest, you've got your wolves and this and the other. Well, I mean, we don't have wild, so if we didn't breed these animals, they wouldn't exist. So at least they exist to a point. You know, lots of them have good lives out in the pastures, and you know, if only, you know, just for the milk and this and the other. And you know, lots of them live for you know, some years until they are slaughtered. And I watched a slaughter program the other night. The cows have the bolt, the sheep have the bolt, the pigs get gassed. Apparently, I don't know why the pigs get gassed, and they're all fucking squealing in this gas. Why do they gas them? I don't know why they gas them, people. But you know, I know human beings are evil, and so maybe they like it. Right then. Surfing safari. Okay, so here are my burnt offerings. Now, I am offering these burnt offerings to Yahweh. Yahweh, can you smell the smoke of the burnt offering? Are you well pleased, you knobhead? I hope you're well pleased with this burnt offering, you dickwhite. And any Christians out there, just fucking grow up already. Please, please, just grow the fuck up. Read something else except that shit. It's ridiculous. It's fucking absurd. The more you read about it and the more other stuff you read about it is absolutely barbaric and absurd. Christians and religious people are the lowest of the intellect on this planet. Who agrees? Put some comments down. Who agrees? Right then, look. Da-da! Wow. I've got gravy and onions, which is a must for bangers and mash, and the 3 veg. So I'm going to put them in the microwave in 3 minutes. And then it's ready to go. So, you know, just the simpler things. Look, I think this is really cool. I mean, just a cool little fucking squidgy pliable cap to keep things preserved inside. It's wonderful. Did you make this? What about this? Did any of you make this? I'm gonna search to the end of the earth to find who is making these things. You see, look, when we go online and we say, how's bottles made, glasses, tins and packets and, you know, fucking crisp packet and all this stuff, well, it's all done by machines. And you watch these machines and it's like, and fucking hey presto, you know, I watched bottles being made from the sand being, you know, dropped into the kiln, and then, you know, it being put into, you know, fucking iron containers, and then the air is injected into it, which blows it out, which makes the bottle in the mould, and then the mould comes off, and it goes down the conveyor belt, and then it gets sprayed by water to cool it down, and then it gets sprayed by something else to give it a little bit of a hue of a tint of something, and all these different sorts of stuff's going on, and then all labels whacked on it, and then fucking beers put in it, and oh my god, You know, there isn't a single human intervention. And so we really are now, you know, having all this stuff by AI. And so I'm asking you, you know, what do you do? You know, you're getting up at 6, 7, 8 o'clock a day, you're going out, you're doing all this shit. What do you do? I can't imagine sitting in traffic. I would never ever commute on a train or on a bus. There's just some things I've never done, I would do. When I used to work in the building, I used to run to work, you know, 3 miles. I'd run back and work 12-hour shifts on the concrete gang. And I'd run in the fucking frost and snow and the hail and the sleet, and I'd work in that and everything like that, and I'd get soaking wet and all this sort of shit. I was a proper man. Still a proper man now. I've always done manly work. And then after that, after my 12 hours, then I would run home and I'd eat my dinner and I'd bottle feed my little daughter and put her to bed, and then I would fucking cycle 3 miles again into town to do 2 hours of full contact karate. And I did the full contact karate 3 times a week, and then on the nights I wasn't doing that, I was weight training and punching the fuck out of my karate bag. And so I was absolutely incessant with an amazing amount of energy. And so, you know, just as an aside, but who makes this? That, you know, we just pick up and squirt on there, you know, this is like, you know, £1.29 a bottle, you know, it's all super, super cheap. Who makes this stuff? You know, this bound wire wool, this kind of like, stainless steel, I suppose it's because it doesn't rust. Who makes these little sponges to wash our dishes? I'm going to have to do a little bit more investigating, but I'm always saying to you, you drones, you slaves, you automaton, do you actually have anything which is satisfying to do? Or do you sit on the tube, or do you sit in traffic and you go to the office or the factory and you do something which is absolutely mind-bendingly boring because you feel you have to? Or do any of you actually have jobs which give you some job satisfaction? You get up in the morning thinking, yeah, I'm going to work, man, wow. And you're getting paid for enjoying yourself. Well, that's great, isn't it? That's why I always used to work for myself, people, because there's no way could I ever get out of bed if I was working for somebody else, feeling stimulated. I just couldn't. So I set up my own businesses and did all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, making stuff. All around here, I didn't make a single thing. I don't know how to make these buttons. I couldn't make these buttons to save my fucking life. Well, probably could, but not out of the plastic. I used to go metal detecting, and when you go metal detecting, you find old buttons made out of lead and made out of bronze, and they're very interesting. When you find, you know, a bronze button, you know, several hundred years old, or even older when you find a lead button, people. And so, yeah, I found all that stuff and I'm like, wow, fucking hell, humble beginnings. Now then, before I finish this off and I eat, I want to draw your attention to this. Whilst we're speaking about making things. Now, bees made this, evidently. And isn't it absolutely incredible how they make this hexagonal fucking configuration? And I don't know whether you can see, but this is a twin-sided thing. And in the middle there is a membrane, a very, very fine membrane of wax. And right at the edge here, what they have done is they've continued with this shape, only there's no depth. And so there was never going to be any larvae placed into these. The larvae goes in the deep ones, and I saw this when it was covered in bees and it was full of larvae. And I watched it throughout the summer, and then I watched it towards the fall as slowly the bees were all over it, and then the bees started to recede and recede and recede and recede till there was only a few bees left on it, and then there was one bee in here and that was dead. And I made a video about that, and I said, well, there's one fucking bee left in there, and the person said to me, it's the queen. And so you can see, look, this is a different configuration, and this is slightly bigger. And so the queen was the only one which remained in this whole thing. All the rest of the fledglings have flown away, but the queen died. And so when you look at this neat edge down here, and you look at the same format, even though it wasn't going to contain any larvae, but they continued meticulously with the style and the plan. I mean, why didn't they just make that smooth? Why didn't they just think, oh fuck it, we don't need to have this hexagon shape? But no. And so look at that. They attached it to here, and that hung in a tree, and that gave rise to several hundred bees. Talk about making stuff, people. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Oh boy. You know, there's just so much to think about, and every time I go onto the internet and I go here and I go there, and there's a billion things that interest me, and I just keep and I'm just going to have a bite of this burnt offering to see if it pleases Yahweh. Well, I don't know about Yahweh, but to be fair, people, I'm well pleased. Fuck yeah, I'm well pleased. Nothing else does it, really. I can get a bit of that from cheese because you still got the animal fat, but animal products, you know, wow. Do any of you make these? Huh? Do any of you make these? Some of you must. I know we probably make sausage in all European countries because we can't make our own foods, really. We can't farm that out to the side of the fucking world, can we? Because if we're going to bring it back, it has to come back in massive freezers, and it's going to be kind of like not very cost effective. So some of you guys must be making these sausages which are scheduled to be burnt offerings. So you're all working for the evil demiurge Yahweh. Huh? Do you know that? Do you know you're making him well pleased? Yes. Anyway, people. I did have something else to say to you, but by the way, just before I go, anyway, let me show you this. I have down here 2 trays of acorns. Now I've got buried acorns here, and I've got surface acorns there, and I'm going to see which ones grow better. And then I've got another tray of acorns here, which I'm going to gather many more of these because I'm going to be feeding them to the squirrels throughout the year. But they weren't too keen on them when I picked them from the tree because they obviously weren't ripe and they're bitter. So I'm going to see when the acorns have actually fallen from the tree whether they like them better. It's all like trial and error and an experience, people. I like to find things out. Now there's one particular oak tree on my cycle route, and it's a long way away from any other trees, and it's absolutely covered in acorns because the squirrels can't get to it because they have to run through a whole fucking ploughed field to get there, and there's easier, you know, foods to obtain. So there's going to be copious amounts which have fallen in the next week or two. So I'm going to be gathering all those up. And what I'm going to do is with some of them, I'm going to be preparing them to eat, because we can actually eat acorns, albeit we have to go through certain quite a long processing format to eradicate the bitter tannins. And I'll speak about that when I make them, but I'm going to be making acorn cakes, biscuits, whatever, and you know, in the old traditional way. So anyway, people, gonna eat my burnt offering now, and hopefully Jehovah will bless me for the murder I partook in.